This is what these boys said when they were told, if you don't bow down to a different God, we will throw you into a fire. Not a metaphorical fire. They said, your threat means nothing to us. If you throw us in the fire, the God we serve can rescue us from your roaring furnace and anything you might cook up, O king. But even if he doesn't, it wouldn't make a bit of difference, O king. We still wouldn't serve your gods or worship the gold statue you set up. For some of us, this is the faith that we need to have in this season and the faith that we're trying so hard to have. I'm gonna pray big, bold prayers. I will never stop praying big, bold prayers. Come on, can we be a generation of women who will pray big, bold prayers? But I love what they said. They said, even if he doesn't, for some of us, this is the prayer that we're trying to have. God, I know you can rescue me, but even if you do not give me the job that I am praying for, I will still not bow down to anxiety and fear. I hope that you do open this door and give me this opportunity, but even if you do not, I will still not bow down to my old addictions or my old mentalities or something that I prayed during the season. God, I know you can salvage something of this warehouse fire. I'm your girl. I know you can salvage something. Maybe just the covers are burned. People don't need covers. Just something is, right, God? But even if you don't, I don't find my identity in my job, in my career, in my work, or in my stuff. My faith will be in you alone. King Nebuchadnezzar wasn't as stoked about this speech. Because I hear that speech and I'm like, that's what's up. Like, you go, Glen Coco, you do that. Like, you say that speech. But King Nebuchadnezzar is like, nah, you're gonna go into the fire. So they're in the fire. He makes sure they are tied up. They go into the fire. They're thrown in. It's burning. And then this is what happens in the middle of the fire, because God does not save them before the fire. They're in the middle of it. And I'm going to read from Daniel 3, verse 25. They had thrown 3 men in, and then we read in Daniel 3:25, look, Nebuchadnezzar shouted, I see 4 men, unbound, walking around in the fire unharmed, and the 4th looks like a god. You know what? I love this part so much, because for some of us, we don't know what could possibly come out of this season that is good. And I just love in this moment, if nothing else, if we have faith through fire, at the very least, we will draw closer to the presence of God. At the very least, the worst case scenario, if you keep having faith, maybe you won't be set free before the fire. But if you hold on to faith, worst case scenario, you just draw closer to the presence of Jesus. Verse 26, then Nebuchadnezzar came as close as he could to the door of the flaming furnace and shouted, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stepped out of the fire. This is why it's so important that we don't fake it through the fire. King Nebuchadnezzar got as close as he could. He had to see it. People say they're not burning. I have to see it. He got as close as he could to see it. It's important that the people in your life who don't know Jesus see it. It's important that the people that you've been talking about Jesus to for years see what your posture is like right now through the fire. It's important that your little brother sees it. It's important that your nieces and your daughters and the women that you mentor see it. What are you doing when everyone else is bowing? People are getting close to the fire and they need to see women who will stand in the middle of a fire. King Nebuchadnezzar had to see it. Who's standing when everyone else is bowing? Then we find out that when they walked out in Daniel 3:27, the fire hadn't even touched them. Not a hair on their heads was singed, and their clothing was not scorched. They didn't even smell of smoke. I love that the writer made a point to say they didn't even smell of smoke. Like, no part of them was burned at all. They didn't even have like split ends, like after we do when we just like curl or straighten our hair. Like, they had no damage. They didn't need Garnier Fructis, anti-damage conditioner. They were all good. Nothing on them was burned, but something was burned in the fire. They had been tied up. They had been chained up and thrown into the fire, but the only thing that was burned was the thing that bound them. The fire did not destroy God's children. It destroyed the thing that held them back. I want you to know that the fire that the enemy intended to harm you could be the exact same fire that God uses to set you free. From finding your identity in people's approval, from finding your identity in your career or your job or your stuff, the fire the enemy wanted to use to take you down can be the exact same fire God wants to use to propel you into your purpose forward. Anything you give him, anything you just trust him with and have faith with, he will use it. He'll use anything you give him. He loves to recycle. He's very eco-friendly like that. Come on, Jesus. He doesn't waste anything. My friends, do not fear the fire. Don't fake it through the fire. And don't fear that fire.